Hello, welcome to another session of Year 5 History with me, Mrs. Furby. It's lovely to see you again. How are you? Are you good? Are you enjoying your history unit, enjoying the Saxons and the Vikings? I certainly am. I've learned loads. It's really nice to have you here. We are doing part 2 of historical causes and consequences today. So if you didn't do the last video, it might be worth going back and doing that one first. But I'm really excited to get going, so let's get on with it. As always, all you need is a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. And let's go. So, what do you know about the Saxons? What have we learned so far about the Saxons? I want you to write down as many things as you can that you already know about the Saxons, and there's some clues in this picture as well. Okay, when you're done, I'll pause the video. This is part of this image here that I've got is part of something called the Bayeux Tapestry. Now this is a sewn image, so all of these are individually stitched images onto a massive piece of material. So it's part of an embroidered cloth nearly 70 meters long. Okay, 70 meters. So if you think about your social distancing in your 2 meters, it's 35 times longer than that, and 50 centimeters tall, so it's half a meter tall, which shows the events leading up to the Norman conquest of England. Okay, so the Norman conquest happened in 1066 when the Saxon reign came to an end. It is thought to date back to the 11th century, and it was made by people, and you can still see the whole thing. It's beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go and see it, go and see it. And it tells the story from the point of view of the Normans. So this doesn't tell you the story from the Saxons. It shows what the victorious Normans, who were the next people who came to rule Britain, rather than the Saxons. So the Saxons often look very small or dead or being defeated, whereas the Normans look big and strong. You can kind of see it here, where you've got these big conquering Normans and the small Saxons who are dying. But it was made in England. We know that now. So let's just remind ourselves about our Alfred, because the Bayeux Tapestry is going to come in a bit. We need to remember that for this lesson. Alfred has built an army, ships, and put up defences around his towns. He's recaptured London and is living alongside the Vikings. So they're living side by side. Like many Saxons, Alfred thought the Viking raids were a punishment for God for not being a good enough Christian. So Alfred decided the best thing he could do was work on making his people more devout, so better Christians. So he wanted everybody to be more religious and to dedicate more time to God. The Vikings had killed most of the Saxon monks, so the people who looked after the monasteries. In their early raids, you saw that for the first sort of 20 years, and they tended to be the only people who could read at that point. So Alfred started working really hard to educate more people, not the slaves or the lowest members of society, and not women either, but religious men and wealthy men. He really wanted them to be able to read and write and do basic maths. He wanted to unite the Saxons of Wessex and Mercia, so he started pushing the English language and getting everybody to speak the same language. This is when they started to call themselves English. So he stopped calling themselves Saxons or Wessex or Jutes or any of the others. They started calling themselves as the English. So, what do you think was Alfred's greatest moment so far, from what you know? Which do you think shows that he was great? Do you think it was fighting off the Vikings, converting the Viking leader to Christianity, developing the English language to try and unite the Saxons, hiding from the Vikings and rebuilding his troops, helping and supporting more men to read and even writing a few books of his own, building an army, building a navy, so the sea, or building defences around the towns? There is no right answer here. You choose. Which do you think is his greatest moment so far? Tell it to me now. Okay, fair enough. Let's see. This is what I want you to do. This is your task for this session, is to take your greatest moment that you've chosen, and I want you to use that greatest moment to create your own version of that greatest moment using the style of the Bayeux Tapestry. So I want you to think about what this looks like, and you can go back and look at more, and you can always Google other images of it because there are hundreds of it. And you can even go on a website where you can scroll all the way along and see the whole thing if you want to. But I want you to think about how your image would look. You're doing it from Alfred's perspective. He's Alfred the Great, so you're going to make Alfred look great and really strong and big. And think about who else would be in the image. If it's about education, you'd have men, you'd have books, you'd have maybe abacuses or things to show maths, or writing tools with different things to write with, Or if it was him becoming king, it might be that you show the Vikings that were dying or something like that. If it's him converting the leader, you might show a Christian priest and the Viking leader and Alfred. What is it going to be? Okay, the colours shouldn't be very bright. They didn't have particularly bright colours. We're talking like here we've got blacks, sort of mustard yellows, deep reds, dark blues, browns, and maybe a bit of green. So think about the colours. It's not going to be bright, and it's definitely not going to be neon. Okay, and I want you to draw just a section to show what you think Alfred's greatest moment will be, using the same style that you see in the Bayeux Tapestry. Make sure we know which one Alfred is and which one the king is. And then underneath your image, I want you to write a couple of sentences explaining what your image shows and why you think that's Alfred's greatest moment. I'd give yourself a decent amount of time to do this, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour. You might want a little bit longer if you're really taking your time. Picture doesn't have to be big, but have a go at creating Alfred's greatest moment in the style of the Bayeux Tapestry. And unfreeze me when you're done. I wish I could see your images. I bet they look amazing. I'm sure you've worked really, really hard on that. I know your teachers in your schools would love to see them as soon as they can. So if you're not allowed in school, if you are doing this lesson because you're in some sort of lockdown or you're not allowed to be in school, take a picture of it, save it, send it into your school, email it in. I'm sure they'd love to see it. And I hope I will get to see them all one day as well. So today you have learned lots of different things. You've looked more into what Alfred did to make life better for his people, protecting them and educating them. You have looked at the very famous artifact that tells a story through images in the Bayeux Tapestry, and you've analysed what you think was the most important moment in Alfred's reign and what the consequences of this were. So you've worked really hard today. I hope you enjoyed doing your artwork, and I will see you next time for our final session together. Have a lovely day. My picture. Try again. Have a lovely day.